If you're a busy professional man at your heaviest weight, you're watching your energy levels, health, confidence decline, and nothing has worked for you long term, you're making one critical mistake when it comes to protein. In this video, I'll share how much protein you need to take to build muscle, lose fat, and finally see your body change. If you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel yet, make sure you hit the subscribe button because I'm making a new video about weight loss advice for men every single week. I use these strategies to lose 60 pounds in 8 months and kept it off for 13 years, and I've helped dozens of men just like you lose up to 60 pounds and finally escape the yo-yo dieting cycle. And if you're tired of constantly losing and gaining the same weight, I want to help you get to your healthy self without giving other foods that you love. First, you go to a macro calculator where you are typing in your age, gender, your height, weight, and activity levels. And from there, you're getting how many calories you need to maintain your current weight. And from there, you are going over to something that's called high protein, where it's estimating 45% of your daily calories that should be coming from protein, and then 40% should come from carbs, and the rest is just fat. The reason why the high protein is so high, more than 30-40%, is because a high protein diet helps you with a lot of benefits. For example, as a professional man, you want to build as much muscle mass as possible because you are not only losing fat even faster, but you're also reducing the cravings. As someone who's been yo-yo dieting and struggling with maintaining a healthy, sustainable diet, cravings has been the most difficult for you and I, and that is also screwing up when it comes to losing weight. So when it comes to, for example, losing weight, you also need to have a calorie deficit in place where it's 300 to 500 calories below. And when you want to make a meal plan that specifically helps you to build muscle and lose fat, you always want to have a workout plan in order, but we are starting out with diet plans. So if you want to lose the weight for good and become the most healthiest version of yourself, just like you saw with me on my client transformation in the beginning of the video, there's a link in the description and also in the comment section where you can apply for coaching with me, and we'll see if you and I are fit to work together. So let's imagine that you have 2,500 calories, and that puts you like in a calorie deficit of 500 calories, for example. So you want to divert the amount of calories into 3 to 4 meals depending on how much your eating schedule is. I usually just have 4 meals throughout the day, and I am dividing it up. For example, if I have my first meal of the day, that could be like 12 p.m. because I'm using intermittent fasting to, for example, fast 16 hours a day, and then I have 8 hours where I'm solely eating all my calories. So I'm getting a lot more nice, great food and not spreading out all my meals with 5-6 meals because it's just easier for me. I don't want to do all the dishes all the time, and it doesn't feel great. I don't feel full with eating smaller meals. So my first meal after being working out in the gym, like I am, for example, having at least 30 grams of protein, because if you've been breaking down your muscle tissue through weight training, you are in a state where it's something that's called protein synthesis. So that is a place where your body is breaking down all the muscle tissues, and you are needing the right fuel to rebuild these muscle tissues so it gets even stronger, and you are getting the opportunity to build even more muscle. And that is only possible if you are giving at least 30 grams of protein and then at least 40 grams of carbs, because you want to have enough recovery after you've been working out and depleting all your glycogen stores. So a combination of these two things is helping you with, for example, building more muscle. And then you also want to utilize that throughout the day where you are having, that's the first meal. That could, for example, be a whey protein shaker with 60 grams of whey protein, 400 grams of skim milk. Then you can have a protein cookie, and then you can have at least like, I don't know, chicken turkey sandwich, and that puts you at least 40 grams of protein, 30 grams of protein, and at least 40 grams of carbs. But you want to have most of your calories coming in the first meal of the day, because it's just the most important, in my opinion, time for you to have a lot of fuel and recover is right after your work, because that's where you are just being very depleted. So you need to have a lot of energy. So for example, if you're going to work as a professional man and you need to have your focus because you are going to talk to clients and also going to all these projects and hearing all these pitches, you need to be your A game, where you are focusing and just being able to listen and giving some inputs into the projects. And you don't want to feel sluggish, because if you are not having enough carbs, you are just feeling sluggish. So that's like the first meal. And the second meal, that could be 3 hours later, where you're also having at least 30 grams of protein to utilize in, for example, the protein synthesis, and also at least 40 grams of carbs. So it's just a combination of, instead of just have a weight shaker with protein that's like fast digestible carbs that into your system right away, and then you just have slow digestible protein throughout the day, because the energy levels, and for example, slow digestible carbs is also having your energy levels released slower throughout the day, so you have more energies for example, just be highly focused at work. So that could be lean ground beef, some whole wheat pasta. You could make, for example, pasta bolognese, and that's just awesome to eat. There could be 200 grams of ground beef, like low in fat, and then 100 grams of whole wheat pasta. That's like, I think it's 50 grams of carbs, and it's slow digestible. And then you have like 200 grams of tomato, and like some carrots in it. You have that meal prepared the day before, and then 1 hour, 2 hours later, you have a protein cookie. That could be like 20 or 30 grams of protein and 40 grams of carbs. And the last meal, almost last meal of the day, that could be, for example, potatoes, eaten with your family, and you can have a nice ribeye steak, flank steak, 30 grams of protein at least, and 40 grams of carbs at least, because that's just, you are repairing your muscle tissues and you are recovering from the intense workout where you've just been busting your ass off in the gym. And then that's the last meal of the day. That could be slow digestible protein intake as well, because you want to fuel yourself before you're going to bed, so you don't feel hunger. I know that a lot of you men who've been yo-yo dieting and having a lot of the cravings because of you having a lot of emotional stress from work, that makes you want to binge eat and just feeling like you are easy. Again, you using, for example, the foods as a way to de-stress, and it's not a healthy way to lose weight, because you are viewing food as something that you can use to de-stress yourself. You should view food as something that you enjoy, but also something that you can fuel your body with the right nutrition, so you're able to perform better. And if you are eating a shit ton of unhealthy foods like junk food all the time, you are in this ongoing cycle where you are eating very clean, and then the next day you are eating very bad, and then you're just waking up with a lot of guilt, and you're just feeling bloated, and you want to give up, and you just keep on this ongoing binge cycle, and your energy and confidence just declining, because you're just feeling that you are feeling very bloated, because of 1 gram of carbs is attaching 4 grams of water, and take some time for you to flush out this waterway. So I always recommend like 4 or 5 liters of water every single day for you to bloat yourself out. And also 20-40 grams of carbs or fibers, because that's also a way to debloat yourself, and you don't feel so much hunger when you have higher protein diet. And I would love to know, what is your biggest takeaway from the video so far? Just comment below and let me know. So after taking care of your diet, you also need to have a workout plan with strength training that can help you rebuild these muscle tissues. So I always recommend that you have 5 times where you are working out in the gym, because that is enough for you to go through all the muscle groups. And let's imagine that you are starting out with, for example, shoulders. You want to start out with 2 exercises, that is compound movement. And at the beginning of the workout, you are, for example, going to military press, and then you are, of course, beforehand, you are watching how the videos are explained of how to perform the exercises. And then you want to understand that when you are going to the bar, you are not putting any weights on. Then you're starting out with taking the bar, and then you are taking a breath, and then you are pushing the weight up with 1 second, and then you're taking a breath, and then you are you are slowly inhaling for 2 seconds. So the first part of the exercise is where you are pushing out the weight, and then you are lowering it where you are creating the most muscle trauma, and that is where you are tearing most of the muscles in the shoulders down. And that is just you doing that, for example, 10 to 12 reps. And you also want to have a good mind-muscle connection, which basically means that you are visually creating a connection to the specific muscles you're working. So it requires a lot of anatomy for you to visualize where the front part of the shoulder is. So by understanding that, you are having a bigger chance to actually building that muscle up, because if you are not understanding where the muscle you are training is, you're just probably just working out your traps, like your neck muscles. So that's not the right way. So it's like a waste of your time. So after you've been utilizing that first warm-up set, sometimes if you're getting stronger and more advanced, you can put like the amount of kilos on just to get some blood flow out to the muscle. That's like the warming up the muscles. And then afterwards, you are, for example, looking at your watch 60 seconds where you are, for example, resting. Because if you are working out intensely, like high volume training, it needs to be very effective. So you need to have a time of how long you are resting. 60 seconds is very important. So then after 60 seconds, you are putting like, I don't know, 2.5 kilos or 5 kilos on each side of the bar, and then you are performing 10 to 12 reps again. And then you want to push yourself where it's 1 to 2 reps before failure, because if you're doing that, you are putting yourself up in a place where you're actually breaking down the muscle tissues, and that basically just is the right environment for your body to have when you want to, for example, use the diet for you to build more muscle. And the more muscle mass you have, the faster you're losing fat. So after you've been doing that, you are waiting 60 seconds again, and you of course need to have a notepad on your phone where you are writing down every single thing that you're doing, like how much weight you're putting. Let's imagine that after the second set, you're not able to increase the weight, you just stay stuck at the same weight, you're only able to do 10 reps. So that's just a way for you to tell that, okay, you pushed yourself. So you are doing the last set, you're also using the same weight, like 5 kilos on each side, and then you just do that. So the next week when you're doing the same exercise, you want to have a mental note that, okay, that is what I was doing. I'm trying to push myself even further. Sometimes you are able to perform like 12 reps, like that's the maximum you should do. So that's a tell that, okay, you're actually getting stronger. And because you've been last week, you're only 10 reps, and then you're doing 12 reps right now. And sometimes if you're able to push like 1.5 or 2.5 kilos, for example, compared to the last week where it first said it was 5 kilos, and then you were able to this week use 6.5 kilos for the first set, as a sign that you're getting stronger. And it's like not every single week that you're able to get stronger, but it's a good way to indicate that you're getting stronger, and the more strong you're getting, the more muscle mass you're building. So that's the first set. The next set, you're going over to dumbbell shoulder press, where you, for example, also using the same principles that I've been teaching you, and then you go over to targeting the lateral side of the shoulder, where you are targeting like the middle part of the shoulder, just to get this 3D look. You've been utilizing this workout plan where you've been targeting the shoulders. Then you're going to go over to biceps, where you are also using the same formula. So I always recommend that you're starting out with some compound movements where you are utilizing, for example, barbell curls. You are standing, and then you can sit down, but most likely I will just stand up and just watch the YouTube videos how you are doing it correctly. And then you're taking the bar, and then you are inhaling while you are taking up the bar, and then you are exhaling 2 seconds while you're lowering it, because it's a way for you to create more muscle trauma and also have a good mind-muscle connection. I see too many people that are just half-assing the reps, and that is not going to help you break down the muscle tissues, because if you're doing half reps, you're only breaking down the muscle tissues 50%, so the 50 other percent is just a waste of time. So just study the shit out of all these YouTube videos. And the reason why you want to have bigger, rounder shoulder, bigger arm, is for you as a professional man who might have been struggling with feeling confident when you're looking yourself in the mirror, because you have this big bubble gut, and big bubble gut is also making you feel less confident, and you feel embarrassed. You don't want to go out with friends and family, and especially networking events where you need to be your best and healthy self, being able to just talk with the clients and have more career opportunities. If your boss is telling you that you is not feeling confident because you're feeling out of breath when you're taking walks, for example, going upstairs, that makes him feel less confident when he's talking with you, and you might also just having your health decline because you're just not taking care of yourself. And if you're sweating just by walking over to the boardroom, it makes you feel that it's not the right thing for you to just getting higher up in the ranks. And if you are after work, you don't have any energy levels to play with your family, and your spouse is asking you to go out, but you feel embarrassed that you look not the most attractive version of yourself, that makes it not sustainable. Maybe she might divorce you, but that's on you. I'm just trying to be real, because if you are not putting your shit together, there's no way back. So I just feel like maybe you are 2 a.m. where you're not seeing the progress, and then you, for example, go over to, that could be seated down, where you are using seated dumbbell curls, and that targets both the one head of the biceps, and then you're going over to superset, you are like hammer curls, so that's target like the forearms, so that makes you look like more dominant with the arms. So I recommend that after you've been working out, you're also making sure that you're going to the cardio machines with a stationary bike. I usually do that because if I want to lose weight even faster with building more muscle, I also need to create this calorie deficit and also put my body in a high enough state where I've been breaking down all of these muscle tissues. And cardio is helping you to accelerate your fat loss. Let's imagine that your diet is like 300-500 calorie deficit. You are losing weight with that, and then you want to accelerate your fat loss. If you are in the beginning of like 2 weeks, you're following your diet plan, and then you want to implement cardio, like stationary bike can help you if you are doing it the right way. Immediately after you've been working out, you are going to the stationary bike, you are cycling 20 minutes and do that 4 times a week with a heart rate of 120, and that is enough for you to actually create enough calorie deficit even further. Because if you are not having any resistance, you're not burning as much calories. And after you've been doing that, I always recommend you starting out with 6,000 steps a day, and then you're ramping it up with 2,000 steps even more when you are hitting a weight loss plateau of not losing 1 to 2 pounds a week. And a combination of all these things that I just mentioned to you can help you with the right nutrition as well, and sleeping 8 to 9 hours a day. That can help you lose fat and build muscle even faster, because it doesn't matter how much you are working out and you are eating healthy if you have not the most important things in order. I am very non-bullshit when it comes to what I'm sharing, because I used to be someone at my heaviest weight and yo-yo dieting, and I was just eating very low in protein, very high in carbs, but I'm not seeing the results that I want. Imagine that you've been busting your ass off in the gym for several months, and what you see after you've been losing all the weight is like a stick figure. You don't look confident in what you are seeing, and you don't feel attractive when you're wearing the suit, and that makes it like a whole place of you just feeling that you're regretting all the efforts. I don't want you to regret all the efforts that you've been putting in when you're going out. So I hope this video was helpful for you. And when you are hitting weight loss plateaus, you shouldn't give up. I know that when I was trying to give up because I was just feeling that all the efforts that I've been putting in was not benefiting me, I was always having a coach that could help me on the side, because emotional support is also very beneficial. Because if you are someone who really wants to lose the weight for good and become the most healthiest version of yourself, just like you saw with me and my client transformation in the beginning of the video, there's a link in the description and also in the comment section where you can apply for coaching with me, and we'll see if you and I are fit together, and we'll just build a game plan to help you lose the weight for good.